Today on Locked On Red Wings, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard and Axel Sandin-Pellikka have been reassigned from the SHL to Grand Rapids to help give a boost to the Griffins' playoff run.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers. Well, I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. Also want to thank you guys for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. We are available anywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Scotty, big news today. I mean, we were kind of talking about it anyways, because you had touched upon it last week, and then kind of to put the nail in the coffin that was going to be our subject matter of the episode, the Red Wings made it official with the assignment of Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, the 15th overall pick from 2024, and Axel Sandin-Pellikka, the 17th overall pick and the second first-round pick for the Red Wings in 2023, have been reassigned from the SHL after their playoff run comes to an end to the Grand Rapids Griffins, who have just 3 games remaining and a playoff run on the horizon. Scotty, when you saw the official news, even going back to the original news, what was your first reaction?
Well, my very first reaction when it was rumored that could be a possibility, we talked about it for 5 seconds on the show last week, and I said, it's super exciting. I'm not having this conversation without Brian here, though, because not because of that. It was last week there were so many games. I was like, I'm going to save this until it actually is confirmed 100% happening. I don't want to burn through that conversation without you and before it actually became official. So now that it is official, I think that this is something that we've seen over the last couple of years, and not necessarily Swedish players to the AHL, but just kind of in general, we've seen this front office throw reinforcements to the Griffins right before the postseason. Each of the last, I want to say 2 seasons, and now this year being 3. But at least this is at least the second year they've done it pretty aggressively. And I think that it is the AHL at the end of the day is for development. That is the whole point. The whole purpose of its existence is to develop players. So I am fully in support of it. I love it. And I think that it made what already was an exciting Griffins team that's going to be playing postseason hockey now even more exciting, because you get 2 of the top prospects in the organization over there to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was excited, right? Just to mirror your sentiments there, because of the fact that these are 2 highly anticipated prospects, first-round picks. Sandin-Pellikka, of course, had a really good season over in the SHL. And I thought MBN also had a strong season as well. I know a lot of people weren't blown away by his numbers, and we'll get into why you should not be too worried about that in a second here. But another reason I'm really excited for this, other than the fact that they're just highly touted prospects, is the Griffins kind of desperately needed some reinforcements. Yeah. As the Red Wings season went on and they called up prospects and they got injuries, the Griffins got depleted. And around the time they got depleted, actually a little bit before that, honestly, the Griffins began to kind of fall off. And they've been slumping the second half of this year pretty hard. At one point, they were pretty comfortably in the first seed in the Central Division. And now they're more than likely going to finish no higher than 3rd in the division. In fact, let me pull up the points. Yeah, they are, with 3 games remaining, they are 11 points back of the Texas Stars for second. So they need the reinforcements desperately. And when the season ends, obviously guys like Austin Watson will get reassigned back down there as well. But, you're looking at a situation where this is mutually beneficial. The Griffins desperately need extra oomph in their lineup, and these are high-end guys, and it's great for the development of those 2 players as well, because getting them on North American ice, which is smaller than the Olympic-size ice they play in the SHL, getting a North American ice where it's a much more physical game as well is going to be a great next step for their development, and very important and crucial that they get it this year rather than having to wait an offseason and go into next year. And I'm sure, obviously, these players individually would have preferred if their team continued on. And,
right.
For Sandin-Pellikka, I think it would be a back-to-back championship for him, MBN just joining the team this year. But for our purposes as Red Wings fans and watching our youth develop, getting them there this year to play these games now is great. And we saw Nate Danielson get a little bit of that too last season. He joined during the playoffs. Of course, he joined during the playoffs.
Didn't Lombardi too, right before?
I can't remember exactly when Lombardi.
2 years ago, even? I don't know, man. There was
Lombardi did join late in the season. I remember that. I think Shea Boom did.
Yeah,
too.
Boom did. I think the year Casper came over.
No.
The year Casper ended up in the AHL was like a weird time period.
No, you're confusing because Casper, remember, he came to the NHL first, played one game, got hurt, and then the next year.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting a little confused there. And that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I want to clarify. A lot of people are asking, why do ASP and MBN qualify for the AHL playoffs? If we were told back at the trade deadline, if you're not on the AHL roster, you can't play. That restriction only applies to guys who have played in the NHL. So guys like, if MBN and ASP, for example, came over and played the last two games with the Detroit Red Wings, they would not be eligible for the AHL playoffs. But by going from the SHL straight to the AHL, it's kind of considered like a promotion, and they're eligible for the playoffs rather than a demotion going from the NHL to the AHL. So that's why they can play, is because they did not play in the NHL first.
Right.
Kind of a weird rule. I get it. You don't want to send your NHL vets to the AHL to play in the AHL playoffs, and that's why they're doing it. But that is why they qualify, because they did not play in the NHL. Scotty, when it comes to MBN and ASP, right, they both had solid seasons. ASP had a great season. What do you expect from each of these individual players to bring to the Griffins lineup?
Yeah, well, I think that is the reason why everyone is like gonna now tune in. Like, I'm really interested in their role on the team. We've kind of seen, you mentioned it with Danielson, right? Like, we've kind of seen, okay, like this guy is gonna come over and join the AHL roster at kind of a crucial point in the year. And it's like, what do you just like completely throw them into the fire? Do you kind of like they have between the veteran AHLers and, the highly regarded prospects, they have a legitimate top end of the lineup card already. So I'm kind of interested in what type of role we are going to see from both of them in this regard, or in that regard. I think that a lot of the reason why, aside from, again, just the obvious point of like development, but in terms of play style, I think you want to add a little bit of potential for decent. This is so painfully obvious. I'm realizing now that I'm saying it in my head. I was going to say, like, you could be adding some scoring and some defense down the lineup card, which is like kind of hockey summarized in however many words that was. But no, I think that this organization has made such a clear point of like trying to turn especially forwards into, two-way players. That we've heard that a billion times. And so if they can add that, in the bottom six or the middle six, wherever they find themselves, then I think they'll take that.
Yeah, 100%. I think to keep in mind as fans that you want to make sure you understand that the AHL is a tougher league because it's a different style of hockey. I already touched on it, right? It's a more physical game. It's a smaller sheet of ice.
So don't be a fascinating adjustment for players, man. Like it is,
especially those Swedes who like to play a lot more of a finesse game.
Yeah, they
like
use
ASP,
the space, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I'm not predicting this. I'm just saying don't be surprised if they don't come in and light the world on fire. They might. They very well may, because they are very talented players. But don't be surprised if they don't. Remember, Nate Danielson came over, joined from the WHL, which is not a professional league like the SHL is, but joined from the WHL last year to the AHL, only played like 2 games in the playoffs because he just wasn't ready. So just saying, not that I'm predicting it, but don't be too shocked if that does play out in that direction. Doesn't mean they're not going to be great players. They are going to be great players. but keep that in mind as well. Scotty, we're going to do a quick break when we return. I'm going to break down a little bit more of their play style and the seasons that they had in the SHL, and then we'll preview the second to last game of the Red Wings season against the New Jersey, of the season in general, this game being against the New Jersey Devils. Stay tuned to segment 2 of the Locked On Red Wings. The Locked On Red Wings, Locked On Red Wings.
Weirdo.
What's going on with me? I'm weird, yeah. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch Money, you're going to realize how much money you're spending on silly things like food delivery or same-day packages. Now you'll budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 2, the Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, ASP, let's start there. He had a fantastic season on top of a fantastic season last year. He had I'm on the wrong tab, in 46 games played with Skellefteå AIK. I'm doing my best on that one.
No, you nailed it.
29 points, 12 goals, and 17 assists. He had 8 points in 11 games during the playoffs for them as well. And he earned the Swedish Junior Hockey Player of the Year honors after recording those 29 points and 22 penalty minutes. It's funny that the Red Wings article that I'm now quoting includes the 22 penalty minutes as part of his accolade. In 46 regular season games, his 12 goals and 26 points were the most of any under-21 skater in Sweden's top professional league. So he led all U21 players in points in the top professional league in Sweden. And he's been great, right? Last year, he, in a championship run with that same team in the SHL, he won the Börje Salming Trophy as the best Swedish-born defenseman in the SHL. He's been a guy that's been on every Red Wings fan's radar since, honestly, the moment he's been drafted, right?
Yeah,
he's a high upside offense defenseman, which is something the Red Wings did not have in their system, right? Up until that point, they had all big boys, right, who can play really well in the defensive zone. Axel Sandin-Pellikka was a change in that process. They drafted a guy who had a high offensive upside from the back end instead.
They still don't really outside of him. Like, you know, like they obviously have guys that we hope will develop well offensively, right? I even like somebody like Edvinsson is kind of in that category. Even like back when Seider first broke into the league, like he was a guy that was, you know, talked about in that way, but he is really the one true, like, this guy will produce offense. That is what his job is, and that is what he's on the ice to do. So, yeah, man, like this is, I was going to ask you if you think that there is one of these two players that fans are more excited to watch in the postseason.
I think it's ASP for sure.
I agree with you. I really do agree with you. That was that 2 drafts ago already?
Yeah, 2023 17th overall pick.
Yeah.
He was taken same draft as Nate Danielson.
Was that? Oh, so that we were there. That was that when we were at LCA.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That was even, I mean, on draft night, obviously I remember having to find a quiet room to record a reaction video in, but that he has, like you said, kind of a different look to the organization and to the farm system. But I think that where he's at now, there is a sense of, especially when you look at the blue line at the NHL level, not to like skip steps here, but there is such a clear path for him to be like a really, really, really good Detroit Red Wing. I think that I agree with you. I think people are really, really excited about ASP, and I hope that he's given a little bit of an opportunity here to
Right.
showcase his ability.
I mean, you're hoping that his floor as a player can be someone like Shane Gostisbehere.
Right.
Somebody who, at worst, is a third pair power play one specialist who can rack up the points. That's the floor. That's pretty damn good. That is a successful middle of the first round draft pick. And that's his floor. And if we're talking ceiling, like, of course, when you talk ceilings for offensive defensemen, quite a few names pop to mind, and I'm not naive enough to start listing his name with those names, but you can get where I'm going, right? If he can prove that he can be, you know, not Sider or Edvinsson in the defensive zone, but hold his own defensively, then he might top out as a top 4 defenseman with that offensive upside as well, and that would be just exceeding expectations as that. And I'm not trying to, that probably sounds even a little still skeptical or pessimistic, I think is the better word, a pessimistic outlook. But if your pessimistic outlook is he's going to be Shane Gostisbehere, that's a home run.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's a great comp for an offensive defenseman who's putting up tons of numbers in the SHL. I just personally have not seen enough of his defensive game to know where that's at right now, because every highlight we see of him is in the offensive zone.
Right.
So
Well,
he could be a staunch defensively, and that's why this weekend and the playoffs are going to be so crucial to see where he's at in that side of the game.
Yeah. And also, just even if he struggles, like just to get his toes wet here in this league, and then next year, you know, start off in the AHL, and it's, you know, a little bit more of his first full season won't be his first time ever playing on this ice. And I think that goes a long way too.
Right. And I don't want to take away either from how important it is to see MBN at the NHL level or at the AHL level. I think MBN probably has an easier time transitioning to the AHL than Axel Sandin-Pellikka, just because of the styles of their games, right? Axel Sandin-Pellikka really likes to have space. There's less of it here. But MBN, on the other hand, is a power forward winger. Less space for him is going to be a benefit, because that's less space to use his size and his physicality to chase down the puck, engage in board battles, use that wicked shot, right? Because that's one thing we get told about is he has a really wicked snapshot, and we saw that in the playoffs. He didn't have a great production season-wise, great season production-wise. Woo, said that backwards. Only 11 points in 42 games played, but he did have 6 points in 11 games played in the playoffs. So, and I also don't want to make it sound like, oh, he had a bad season. He didn't. He was 9th in U20 players in scoring. It was his first full season as a professional hockey player in Sweden. So the adjustment was going to need to be there for the production, but he was still a very efficient player away from the puck, which is also something you knew when you drafted him. So he had a very good season despite the lack of production when you take into account the level he was playing at and his age. He's only 19 years old. So I'm super pumped for MBN too. And I think he early on might have better success than ASP just solely because of the styles of game they play.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. That's something that we kind of talked about in when we talked about Carter Mazur, right? Was like, even if the ceiling isn't higher than some of the other prospects, like he might have an easier time transitioning over to higher levels just because of his style of play and whatnot. And I think that MBN certainly fits that as well. Talked about it a little bit in segment 1, but just kind of, he's a guy that you really can feel totally fine about putting in like the bottom 6 right now, at least. And you, at least at a minimum, know that you're going to get some physicality and hopefully some decent defense. And if points follow and offense follows and it is a nice smooth transition, then obviously that's great and that's best case scenario. But I think that his style of play really leads to again, what I was talking about earlier, kind of that two-way game and providing that down in the lineup card, whereas ASP is a little bit more I don't want to say like all or nothing, but it's, you know what I mean? Like if he's not producing offensively, who knows what his value is going to be. Whereas MBN, at least have a little bit of a sense of like, at a bare minimum, this is going to be a big forward that we can throw out in, the bottom six for a few shifts a night.
Right. He's 6'1" and he's 207 pounds. Like, he's already, like,
Yeah.
obviously there's more muscle to be gained there, but he's already pretty hefty for his size and his age. Like, 207 pounds at 6'1" at 19 years old is pretty solid. Obviously more solid to get, but it's pretty good already. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to both of them. And good news, so the Griffins, I'm going to be double screening tonight when people are listening to this, because they play in Rockford at 8 o'clock, and you can watch all Griffins games on Flow Hockey. So check that out if you can. I think it's $30 a month, but they do more than just the AHL. They do the USHL. They do the SHL, for example, a lot of lower tier junior leagues. It's kind of great if you're a super hockey nerd and you want to watch all levels of hockey. They'll be on Flow Hockey. I'll be definitely picking up a monthly membership in order to watch some Griffins games here and in the playoffs. So I'm pumped for that. Scotty, anything left on these two guys before we head to our preview of the Devils?
No, let's preview the Devils.
Preview the Devils. Stay tuned. Segment 3 of Lockdown Red Wings. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. You're going to love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 bonus bet today. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast, rather. Scotty, the Detroit Red Wings play the New Jersey Devils tonight in New Jersey, the first half of a back-to-back to end the season as well. And, when it comes to a preview for this hockey game, what is there to really preview? The game virtually means nothing. A win just feels good at that point, and a loss furthers your chances in the lottery. What do you preview in a game like this?
Well, I think you preview the, like we talked about a lot last week while you were off with your feet up, was, just the individual players that you are still looking for signs of development from. I think it's really hard to not just bring up Marco Kasper every game at this point. He has looked so good over the last week or so. And that can't be said for, everybody on the team, obviously, but he's just a guy that I think has looked so much more aggressive in the offensive zone over the last 3 or 4 games. And I hope that continues. I want to continue to see this dude lead the team in shots on any given night. I want to continue seeing him get opportunities. He had 2 goals against the Lightning last week. I think this is exactly the situation that you want to just feed him the puck as much as possible and put him on the ice as much as possible, because that is, again, the win and loss isn't going to mean anything. And that's a guy that you want to be somewhat, hardened, right? Ready to go this fall and able to put in as many different situations as you possibly can.
Yeah, there's a lot of players who are close to little mini milestones that these last 2 games you hope they can just rack up the points. If you're a fan of that, you might be on Team Tank and just hoping that they bottom out as best they can in the final 2 to go from 13th overall pick to 10th. But Lucas Raymond's got 78 points and 27 goals, 3 goals to get to 30, 2 points to get to 80. That would be great for him. DeBrincat's got 68 points and 37 goals, 3 goals to 40. He'd be the first player to do that since Marian Hossa in 2009, and 2 points to 70. Dylan Larkin, 2 points to 70 and 1 goal to 30, as well as Patrick Kane, 2 points to 60 points on the season, which is a huge achievement considering how slow to the season he started. So he's looking at an opportunity to finish with 60 points in 82 games played, despite having under half a point per game in the first half of the season before McClellan came on board. That's how hot the second half of the year has been for him. And on top of that, like you said, Marco Casper, he's got 35 points, 18 goals. You want to see him get 20. So there's a lot of players who they get a couple goals here or there. They get a couple assists here or there. They meet little milestones that would just feel good. But outside that, like the development and the development of youth, right? We talked about that with Lucas Raymond, Marco Casper. That's all you got to root for. On the other side of the coin, you got Tankathon to root for. And we did forget to spin the wheel last night. That's on me. We got a little bit sidetracked. But where are we at in the league right now? The Detroit Red Wings are... You could finish as worse as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. You could finish as low as 10th, which would technically give you a lottery shot at first overall. Very slim odds, but you could. You have 83 points on the season, currently sitting at 12th, I believe. You're tied at 83 points with the New York Rangers, 1 point ahead of the New York Islanders, who have 82. And I guess technically, if the Ducks win out and the Penguins, if the Ducks win out, you could finish hypothetically at, nope, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do math. No, they can't. They only have 4 points in 70
do
games.
math,
So
yeah.
I can't do math. So you could finish as low as 10th, which would give you an outside shot on the number 1 overall pick. So if you're Team Tankathon, I don't blame you. I get it. Like, what does these little wins do besides just make you happy in the moment, right? So, Scotty, do you want to just spin the wheel and see where the Red Wings are?
I would love to spin the wheel.
All right. Are we doing the first one's the official spin, and then you want to just spin until we manage to jump? All right.
I say we pick a number. Pick a number 1 through 20.
I think we should do 9, 1 for each year the Red Wings have missed the playoffs.
Okay, so the 9th spin is the official one for this episode.
All right. Here's 1. Stayed at 12. 2. Stayed at 12. 3. Stayed at 12. 4. Stayed at 12. 5. Stayed at 12. 6. Stayed at 12. 7. Stayed at 12. 8. Stayed at 12. Here we go. Here's the official one. 9. Stayed at 12. And see, this here...
stuff here.
This here is a great encapsulation of why I'm on team win the games because it's fun.
Correct. Yes.
Because
exactly why.
You have a 2.5% chance of moving up in the lottery, and a 0% chance of getting number 1 overall for where you sit now. If you were able to get to 10th, you would have a 3.5% chance. I'm sorry, 11th gets you a chance at number 1 because you can move up 10 spots, which would 11-1 move you up that high. So, okay, yeah, you lose 1 or 2 games. You have a 3.5% chance or a 3% chance at the number 1 overall pick. But you just saw in 9 spins the Red Wings move nowhere. Not up to 1, not up at all in the draft. So that's why it doesn't really matter all that much. So just win the games and have fun.
Yeah, dude. What's this all about? Just have fun.
Yeah. That's all the last 2 games are about.
Have fun.
Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a game recap tomorrow. I will be watching the Griffins game if ASP and MBN make their debuts. So we might have a double recap going on for tomorrow's game. It depends if those 2 guys play or not. So stay tuned to that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.